What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We have a bunch of stuff to get into today, including Skyrim getting mods apparently on the Switch, just not officially, I guess. We'll go over that. And it looks like Microsoft is set to buy yet another studio. This one is a very good decision, especially if they announce it at XO 2018 to have them ready to go for next generation. They're on a shopping spree right now, it looks. Again, guys, if you like getting all the latest news every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, come on by for Newswave and make sure to subscribe for any breaking news that drops to keep you guys update on that. So let's jump into some quick news. We're going to start right away with Borderlands 2 VR. Yeah, it's coming to the PlayStation 4 December 14th, and you can pre-order it now. What's interesting about this is it seems they've retooled a significant portion of the game, specifically controls. They have something called the BAMF mode that will actually slow down time, so you can, I guess, more easily react to things on screen and shoot things. And they do have a couple different control schemes, whether you do like the teleporting mode where you kind of point and click and you teleport. Not a big fan of that myself. I'd prefer the controller just straight up like we normally use, just obviously you can see VR. They're doing that though as well. So you have two different methods. Either use the sticks to walk around or you point and teleport. I mean, hey, it's more VR stuff. I do like that Sony is continuing along after I saw what happened with the Vita. I wasn't sure how the PlayStation VR would hold up, but they're pushing along with it pretty well. Gearbox retooled this whole thing. It's coming out December 14th, so you can check it out then. Oh, and Fortnite, you know, that game's a free-to-play, digital-only game. Yeah, it's going to be physical this holiday. It's weird, right? Yeah, they're putting this on store shelves in what I can only assume to be a box that has a code in it. Kind of like PUBG, actually. Anyway, they're putting this on store shelves November 16th. It's showing up for the PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, and it's called the Deep Freeze Bundle. Yeah, it's going to have, as you can imagine, yes, a Frostbite outfit skin, a glider, pickaxe, and backpack, and 1,000 V-Bucks as well, which should be just enough to get you a battle pass. I think it's off by like 50 V-Bucks or something like that. Same price on all systems as $29.99. Yes, Fortnite, Epic does they want a physical representation on store shelves for the holiday season. Is that surprising to me? No. Is this bundle weird? Yes. But of course, we know people who are really into Fortnite probably will pick this up just for the skin sets, and I guess it's an easy present to give someone because it's 1,000 V-Bucks, although I'm sure you could probably just buy a gift card or something if they just want all V-Bucks. But I'm going to tell you now, kids are going to be asking for this because it's Fortnite. You know, there's skins involved here, guys, pickaxes and gliders. So, you know what, it's a good move for Epic. It makes sense, $29.99, it's easy money for them, and it's that representation on store shelves. We already saw a Fortnite bundle with V-Bucks thrown in there, so why not put a box with a code in it? It's just easy money. Now, one physical version that does make sense that's coming out this holiday is Hellblade. It is actually hitting store shelves on both the Xbox One and the PS4. No word on a physical PC version of it, but who really buys physical PC games anymore? Microsoft's going to handle publishing duties on the Xbox One, while 505 Games will be handling the PlayStation 4 version. They're both going to come out December 4th for $29.99. It's a good way to pick it up if you haven't played it yet. I do like buying my games physically, so it's good to see this game that Ninja Theory did a great job on get some, again, retail storefront representation going into the holidays. It'll just help with more sales for them, as a lot of times parents, like I said, will walk through the store and just pick stuff out for holidays, and it's just good to see Hellblade hit store shelves. It was digital only game before, and now it's actually going to be there for the holiday season, and we're going to get to hopefully see in a little bit whatever Ninja Theory's working on next. Maybe not this E3, the following, but of course they have Microsoft backing them now though, so we'll see if they come up with some cool stuff. Oh, and real quick, Stardew Valley is heading to iOS. That's actually happening October 24th, so the end of this month, and they're just going straight up, $7.99. No in-app purchases or anything, no free-to-play freemium model. They're just straight up dropping this game on the storefront for iOS devices. I'm going to be curious to see how this one sells. $8 is an absolute steal for this game. I think it'll work great on the touch interface. This is just an awesome game. I hope it continues to do well. They've already been selling like crazy on other platforms, so it's just another place for them to go. And I like the idea of them just going straight up. We're just going to sell it. There's going to be no in-app purchases. I'll be curious to see how this one does. But October 24th, if you haven't played it, might be worth looking into if you're mostly a tablet or cell phone gamer. And with some of the quick news out of the way, guys, let's jump into some of the bigger stuff right away with Microsoft's acquisition. Now, I talked to you guys previously about rumors that were kind of going around. If you've listened to the podcast, you've heard this. It looks like they're looking to lock down a deal with Obsidian to essentially buy them like they bought several other studios. Remember, we saw they opened the Initiative, right? They bought Playground Games, who just released Forza Horizon 4, which is an outstanding game, but 92 on Metacritic, probably the best racing game of this generation, without a doubt. Awesome game. So they are building up. We just talked about Ninja Theory. They're building a little army here of studios, and I had a strong hunch that Obsidian was going to be purchased at E3, but they had so many other studios, and maybe this one was one they're going to be saving down the line, because according to Kotaku, that deal is 90% done, and when speaking with sources, it's a matter of when, not if. When would they announce this? It's pretty easy. XO 2018, it's coming up. Microsoft already talked about how that was a place where they announced that Rare acquisition. Interesting that Microsoft is bringing up studio acquisitions rather than games. They also talked about Halo 2 being shown there as well. But to hear about Obsidian, which is a good studio that's gone through some turbulent times, even with Microsoft. That's the funny thing. They were making a game for Microsoft for the Xbox One in its early days, and Microsoft seemed to cancel it on them, and they've had some financial troubles. Now, they have worked on several games that you've probably heard of and even played, and maybe you like Obsidian. So to hear that Microsoft might be coming in and pretty much taking care of their financial issues and giving them possibly Fable 4 to work on. The word is Fable 4 is already in development, possibly by Playground Games. Bringing Obsidian in to kind of work on it as well would make a lot of sense, as they have so many studios even around Crackdown 3, so it's not unheard of for Microsoft to have multiple studios working on a single project. Now, Obsidian, if you have not heard of them, you may have heard of a few games they've worked on, whether it's Fallout New Vegas, Knights of the Old Republic 2 from the original Xbox. Yeah, they worked on that. South Park Stick of Truth, and one of the more successful recent games that they did have to get kickstarted and everything, Pillars of Eternity 2. If you remember that was an awesome game, and it looks like, yeah, if they get picked up by Microsoft, they could be off and running with some really cool project that they don't have to stress about money. They have had financial issues. They've talked about it before with several interviews. It's good to hear this if this does happen, but based on what I've heard, and it seems like Kotaku is putting it out there at this point, I wouldn't be shocked, we'll say that, if they announce that they've acquired them at XO, which takes place at early November. We'll be streaming that here to see, because now I'm interested to see they're adding. And I will say this, if they buy Obsidian, I don't think their studio acquisition spree is going to end there, so keep that in mind. And in more obvious news, there's a chance that Sony, they could be making a PlayStation 5. This was really funny to see going around the internet yesterday. There was an interview that Yoshida had saying, at this point what I can say is it's necessary to have a next generation hardware. He did also refuse to formally name this thing the PlayStation 5. Shocking, right? That was in an interview with Financial Times. They asked him about a bunch of stuff, including rumors about them kind of designing a tablet-like handheld device as well. No real comment on that. But yeah, the PlayStation 5, shocking, right? I mean, we already know that they're just going to call it the PS5. They're not... Sony's not exactly original with their naming for their home consoles. They're more original with their handhelds, I'll say that. Vita was actually a good name. Not as good now that you look back on it, since Vita means life, and well, they just forgot about that thing. But their home consoles, I mean, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. What do you think's next, right? It's like an episode of Sesame Street. PlayStation 5, right? I mean, I know they don't want to put it out there yet until they're absolutely ready to go out there and show it and absolutely knock it out of the park. There are also rumors that it's going to be very similar in architecture. Again, shocking. So this wasn't massive news, but it circulated heavily, and there you go. There might be a PS5. I do want to say that is the first time, to be fair, that Sony has at least mentioned that there will be a next generation device of some kind, saying that it's necessary for that next generation one. So that's the only reason I could see this going around so much, because once you mention it once, now it's going to start snowballing, and pay attention to next E3, because, yeah, we're probably seeing new consoles. Next up, let's talk about these Switch Skyrim mods. The way you can do these Skyrim mods, and it is a lot. Like, they have a lot of modifications going right now, from full-on quests to changing NPCs to new dragons and everything. If you haven't been in tune with the Skyrim modding community. It's something else. It really is. It drastically alters this game, and it really enhances it in some cases and adds a ton more content. Well, the thing about Bethesda and Nintendo, Bethesda seems to want to have mod support, although they also said they want to have crossplay in Fallout 76, and when they were called on that with Sony allowing crossplay for Fortnite, they all of a sudden, well, they're not doing crossplay. So who really knows about that? But this is an interesting thing because there is no mod support for the Switch version officially, but hackers have enabled it. Yes, they have completely enabled it. Tons of stuff on the Switch version, so it's completely possible you can import all kinds of different mods if you, of course, have hacked your Switch in that gray area where the Switch has been hacked like crazy. Yeah, if you have Skyrim, if you have hacked Switch, you could start doing all kinds of mods that maybe you've seen on the Xbox One and the PS4 version where those have mod support. And I'll be curious if there is ever a time where there is mod support added, but of course this was ported by Iron Galaxy, and I believe they're on to new things at this point as we see them doing Diablo, so it probably would be up to Bethesda to go back and add in mod support, and I don't know if they're going to do that. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen for that to even make sense, and I mean, we'll see. I would like to see mod support. I think it'd be great. Obviously, the Switch can do it because we're seeing hackers do it, so why not? Let's add some mod support. The only thing I could see is that Bethesda doesn't really see any real financial reason for them to go back and do it. But, you know, it'd be fun to see. The other versions, of course, launched with it, so this would be an update that Bethesda would have to go back and actively do. So we'll see. There could also be a thing with maybe space constraints on the system. It's hard to say, but you could just require an SD card and kind of go from there. But we'll see if it happens. Otherwise, though, apparently you got to hack your Switch to get Skyrim mods. And our last bit of news, if you're a simulation racing fan and you specifically prefer the Switch, you don't really have a Forza, you don't really have a Gran Turismo, you got Mario Kart, but when we're talking about simulation racing, Gear Club was like the last big one that I remember, and that was kind of a mobile game that was brought over. It looks like that's not the last one they're doing, though, because Gear Club Unlimited 2 was announced, and it's actually coming soon. It's coming in December 4th to be exact. And if you remember Gear Club 1, it was a simulation racing game, but it had kind of the quirks from a mobile game. But this looks to be exclusive to the Switch, which makes me curious if they have done some updates, some changes to make it feel less like a mobile game and feel more like a standalone simulation racing game that will be sold for $50 on something like the Switch or even an Xbox or a PlayStation 4. According to them, through a PR statement they put out, it will have a roster of 51 cars and 22 of the big name manufacturers. They put out a whole car list, by the way, which of course has, you know, Ford Mustangs, Vipers, Challengers. They do have a lot of standards, and they also have a lot of exotic cars as well. So I'll check this out because I did check the first one out. I remember we did a full video on it and I liked kind of the idea of it, but it wasn't up to standard visually. And even then, when you were playing it, you could feel like it had that mobile grind where it took time for things to get done. Like, they didn't have microtransactions, but we'll see if they spent the last year retooling it, maybe building off of what they had to kind of turn it into more of a game you would sell at retail rather than one that you download on your phone. So we'll see. It could be interesting. I'll check it out, though, because really I don't have a lot of options for simulation racing. I feel like that's why they're sticking around and making a second one. But hey, we'll see. They got a bunch of cars here from actual companies and everything, so should be fun. I'll check it out. That's December 4th. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Whether it is Microsoft possibly grabbing Obsidian, you think that's a good purchase? I do, because that would help, of course, with some of their RPGs or maybe open world style games that they can help with. I think if Fable is going to happen, they probably will need another developer, another company to come in and help work with it to try to get it to the finish line, especially if it's Playground Games developing it. Maybe get someone in there with some experience with RPG games. Could be interesting. Then what about Skyrim getting mod support? But only if you have a hacked Switch. Let me know about all that, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.